We saw it with the helicopter.
There's a lot of motivation at this time to create to emphasize or create incidents that will cause gun control.
There's a lot of motivation at this time to create incidents that will cause gun control. He's suggesting that all this news about there being some kind of massacre in San Bernardino was manufactured by people who want gun control. Because, well, you know, of course it's happened before.
It doesn't seem plausible to us that this petite woman would be involved in this sort of hyper caricatured kind of Bonnie and Clyde crazy scenario. But I mean, there was a lot of questions drawn with regard to Sandy Hook and whether or not that was a real incident or not. We just don't know. But I mean, obviously these things were found there. How they got there, we don't know.
There was a lot of questions drawn with regard to Sandy Hook and whether or not that was a real incident or not. We just don't know. This is insane, right? I mean, I don't know why the family of the dead attackers from San Bernardino have hired a lawyer or why they have hired this particular lawyer, but apparently part of their sort of public defense is going to be that maybe this whole thing didn't really happen. Maybe the whole San Bernardino massacre was faked by the government or by some other people who want to take away your guns. Maybe it was a false flag attack, just like all those questions we have about whether or not the Sandy Hook massacre of first graders was faked or carried out by the government in order to create a desire for gun control and thereby steal away your guns, right? It's insane. It's so offensive, I almost can't describe it. I almost cannot speak of it. But conspiracy theories like this exist in our country, right? They circulate in our country, and they come from somewhere. And mostly where they come from is the website and radio show of a man named Alex Jones, who was the foremost and most insistent proponent of the idea that there really wasn't a massacre at Sandy Hook, and all those kids weren't really killed. It was all faked for political effect by people who want your guns.
Yeah, so Sandy Hook is a synthetic, completely fake, with actors, in my view, manufactured. I couldn't believe it at first. I knew they had actors there, clearly, but I thought they killed some real kids. And it just shows how bold they are.
The idea that the Sandy Hook massacre was faked, and also, in his words, that the Boston bombing was faked, and also, of course, that 9/11 was faked. And yes, this same guy, of course, is now promoting the idea that the San Bernardino massacre this week was faked. It was all a false flag conspiracy to try to come and take your guns. That guy's name is Alex Jones. He runs a radio show and a popular conspiracy theory website. And lest you think that there is some divide between the craziness in the world and the craziness in our politics, lest you think that by God, by right, there has to be some distance between that kind of offensive insanity and the small d democratic system of the greatest democracy on the face of the earth. Lest you think there's any distance there, let it be known that on the day of the San Bernardino attacks, that morning, before we got word that that massacre had happened, that day, the prohibitive frontrunner for the Republican presidential nomination spent that morning doing a half-hour-long, fawning, Mutual Appreciation Society interview with Alex Jones, with the guy who says that those kids didn't die at Sandy Hook, the Sandy Hook massacre was a fake, and the Boston bombing was a fake, and 9/11 was a fake. And later that day, after we learned about San Bernardino, of course, he says that San Bernardino was a fake, faked by these people who act these things out as elaborate hoaxes to take your guns, because that's what the U.S. government does. In his interview with the Republican presidential frontrunner, Donald Trump, he told Mr. Trump, quote, "You are a true maverick." He told Donald Trump that he thinks 90% of his audience supports Donald Trump for president. And so, yeah, this is as nuts can be. But this is not the fringe anymore. This is the modern Republican Party, and it looks like they are really going to do this. Hold on. This might hurt.